The topic of this video is from Unit 3A on sample spaces. Probability theory, which is the topic of this entire unit, is the study of the likelihood or possibility of an event occurring. So let's go through some basic definitions of probability theory that we will use throughout the unit. An experiment is any observation of a random occurrence. Outcomes are the different possible results of the experiment, and the sample space is the set of all possible outcomes of the experiment. So let's look at a couple of examples finding sample spaces. Let's assume that two children are born to a family, and we note the birth order with respect to gender. Let's determine the sample space. So we're of course going to let B represent boy, and let G represent girl. So let's list the possible outcomes as ordered pairs. So we can have a boy on the first child, and then we can have a girl on the second. Well, what if we have a boy on the first child? Is there any other possible outcome? And of course there is. We could have another boy. Now these two ordered pairs, what do they have in common? They have a boy on the first child. So what about if we have a girl on the first child? Well, we could have another girl on the second child, or we could have a boy. So these four ordered pairs represent the four outcomes for the sample space. So the entire sample space only has four different outcomes. Our next example, we're rolling two dice and observe the pair of numbers showing. Let's determine the sample space for this experiment. Once again, we are going to write ordered pairs. So let's let the first slot be the outcome of the first die, and the second slot be the outcome of the second die. So when I write the 1-1 combination, that means we have a 1 outcome on the first die and a 1 outcome on the second die. Well, let's keep a 1 outcome on the first die and think about the other outcomes we can have for the second die. Since each die has 6 sides numbered 1 through 6, we can have outcomes of 1 through 6 on that second die. So let's list all of those ordered pairs. So all of those ordered pairs listed have a 1 outcome for the first die. Well, we of course can have an outcome of 2 on the first die. Then we could have an outcome of 1 on the second, an outcome of 2, outcome of 3, so forth and so on. For our next row, we could have an outcome of 3 on the first die, and that's what will stay common to all of the ordered pairs on this row. So all of these ordered pairs have an outcome of 3 on the first die. Then we could have an outcome of 4 on the first die. Or an outcome of 5 on the first die. So just listing all the possible outcomes where we have a 5 on the first die. And then lastly, we could have an outcome of 6 on the first die. So counting all the outcomes here, there are 36 different outcomes in the sample space.